Oh yeah. Oh, always need a good coffee. So I've got a problem with my bike and with my rear wheel. It's just over here. I've got the other camera on. So I think the tyre is having issues. I keep losing pressure. In the tyre. So this was up at 40 psi, and it dropped pressure whilst riding, but there's no sign of a puncture. So I'm a bit bemused. I found a couple of bits on it, so I'll show you on my other camera. So just here, you can see it's a bit thready around the edge. So what I'm going to do is take this tyre off, and I've got myself a new tyre, got some more tyre sealant, and I just thought I'd go through the process with you and see if I can find any defects in this tyre, because there's this one, and I've seen somewhere else as well. Yeah, at the top here there's another threadbare doing the same. It doesn't seem to be leaking, but it doesn't look too good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my tyre. I've got myself a new tyre. So I'm going back to a Schwalbe G1 Bite, which I've had on before. I'm going to put this on. Hopefully it will remedy the situation, but I thought I'd take you through the process of taking off an old tyre, putting in new sealant and all that kind of stuff. So I've just taken the tyre off, and as you can see by the mess all around, there's plenty of sealant in there, so it's not a sealant issue. So there's no reason why I should have lost pressure. It's not like the sealant's old. Sealant lasts about 6 months and then you have to replace it, but as you can see here, lots of fluidy stuff around, so it's not lack of sealant. I'm just going to clean things up and then see if I can inspect things a bit better. I'm probably going to put the hose on just to wash out the wheel, because it's quite mucky with sealant. So I've got the tyre off, here it is, and I've got the wheel off. The wheel looks okay. The tyre, let me just show them on my other camera. I've got another camera here. There we go. So you can see the tyre there where the bit I was concerned about, kind of the threads have worn. It doesn't look like it's gone through to the inside at the moment, which is quite good. But there is a blob of sealant there, right on where that tear is. So I'm right in taking the tyre off, because if I was out doing riding across the country somewhere and that burst, the tyre would be blown basically, because the split there is big enough to cause a blowout, and I'd need a new tyre. I wouldn't be able to patch it or anything. So I'm quite happy I've taken it off. As you can see, it's a messy job, and just if you've never seen inside a tyre with the sealant, so you can see here, it's like I had green stuff in this, and obviously it's green and it's all solidified. I've got some big lumps here that you can see. This would have been liquid at one point, but it's came in contact with the air and has made itself into a blob, and this is what seals your tyre up basically. So it is good stuff. Also in here, there's one just there, look. Try to see if you can see that. There's a thorn sticking out. So I've had a couple of punches in this and not noticed, because the thorns stay in and it seals around them. However, get rid of that and get myself dried up, and I'm going to hopefully then get the new tyre on. Okay, so before I put the tyre on, I have the tyre here, new tyre, which I'm going to put on in a second. Before putting it on, you need to check your rim tape, because tubeless only works because the rim tape stops the air coming through from the spoke holes. So you need to make sure that you've got good rim tape all the way around. Also check your valve. Okay, here's the valve. Check the valve is nice and tight. And now I did notice when I took out the other one, there was a little bubble come out of that, so that might have just needed nipping up. I'm going to check that in a second or two. Also, you can see in there where the valve is, I'm going to be going in there with a little pick just to take out any sealant in there, just to get a good clear run of air through. And also I'm going to be changing the valve. I'm going to put a new valve in because the valves can end up with a bit of sealant on them, so I like to put a new valve in. It costs pennies. You can buy them off Amazon. A pack of 10 valves is a couple of quid, and it's always worth having a spare valve with you. So just going to get the tyre on and then get the sealant in. So with a tyre, when you put a tyre on, it has a direction usually, and you can see from the tread here, the tread's not very directional, but it does say on the side of the tyre, you can read that there, it tells you which direction to put the tyre on, and that's all about water displacement. So as you're riding, it's displacing the water through the tread as best as possible. So always make sure you have the direction of the tread going the right way. So now I've got the tyre on, there's no sealant in at the moment. What I like to do is get the tyre seated properly before I put the sealant in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some liquid, washing up liquid and water mix around the edges, and then what that'll do, that'll help it seat when I put a pressure in. I don't have a tubeless pump because you can build up the pressure and pump them in, so I always use a gas canister. I've got to get myself a tubeless pump, that's one thing I need to get, but usually one gas canister to get the thing seated. And then once it's seated, I put the sealant in, taking out the valve core and put it in that way. And I find that's a lot easier to do, a lot less mess, and then you just pump it up as normal. Okay, so let's get the washing up liquid sorted. Okay, if you're using a gas canister for when you're out and on trails and stuff, always make sure you have something to put the canister in. These things, once you release the gas, it goes really cold and it can burn your hands. So I always make sure I've got it in a little bag, he says. There we go. So once it's in there, it's done. And this is a top by Bursman. It only releases the gas when you put pressure on, so it's only when you push on the valve it releases the gas, and your hands are insulated from this rubber case that comes with the top. It's really, really good. It's worth having. Bursman gas canister pump thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is try and get this to inflate. It needs a short, sharp burst of air. So the valve's open. Here we go. And that's what you're looking for or listening for, is those pops and bangs, just to make sure it's seated properly. And obviously this hasn't got any sealant in at the moment, so it might all leak out, but at least it's seated on the rim properly. So what you need to do as well is to check around the rim, just to make sure you get the whole tyre seated. And usually on the rim, let me try and show you, there's a line on the tyre, and that will show you, as long as you can see that line all the way around, that then would indicate that the tyre is seated properly. If your tyre's not seated properly, what will happen is when you ride it, you'll be kind of bobbling. There'll be a high point on it and stuff, and it won't feel totally and utterly smooth. Okay, so I've got the tyre on the rim. It's all sorted. Air's coming out because there's no sealant in it at the moment. However, what's nice now is it's all seated properly. You probably can't tell from there, but it's seated nice. It's losing pressure, so what I'm going to do now is remove the valve core, take all the air out. It will stay seated, and then I can put the sealant in, and then once the sealant's in, put the valve core back in and blow it up again by the trap pump. Okay, so I've connected the hose that you get with the sealant over the valve, and it's into the sealant here, and I want to dispense about 100 ml into the tyre, or the wheel, not the tyre, or the tyre and the wheel. So give it a squirt. Hasn't got to be an exact science, so let me just take that off there, put the bottle up. Yeah, nowhere near. Give that a go. Yeah, so I think that's about 100 ml, and I'm just going to blow down the tube to get the rest of it down. Hold on a second, let's move the camera out of the way. There we go. It doesn't taste very nice, but that's sorted. It's in the tyre, so let's move on to the next stage. Screw it back in, just finger tight. Yeah, you want it tight enough so it seals, but also you don't want it so loose that when you pump up your tyre, sometimes the valve comes out with the pump. So you're trying to want to avoid that. So you want to get it just nipped up, but not over tight. So now with the tyre sealant in, I'm going to, the actual tyre has unseated a bit, so I'm going to do the same process again. I've got another canister in here, and I'm going to just inflate, hopefully. And what I need to do now is put the sealant around, bounce it around, and hopefully get it to seal the holes as we're going. You can hear air coming out of a big pocket somewhere. But by bouncing it, I'm spreading the sealant up and down the tyre, up and down the wall at every point, and eventually the sealant will start to seal all the little holes in the tyre, and it becomes airtight, and you're good to go. So what I'm going to do now is give it another pump up with the trap pump. It's holding air. I can still hear bits coming out. So just build the pressure back up again and just force that sealant into the gaps. Just a bit down there needs doing. So, a bit out of breath here. Just couldn't get it to seat and seal straight away. However, what it was although I'd pumped it with the gas canister, it hadn't seated properly. So there was a part of it that was, remember I said about the line on the tyre, it's got to be level, and if you get that level, that means it's seated properly. And I believe now I've just pumped it up to 60 psi with the trap pump, and it pinged, it popped. You know when you have a tyre done at the garage, car tyre, and yet they put the air in and it pops? We need to do the same on these. These need to pop as well. And all the popping is that it means that it's seated properly onto the rim. And this now is not losing air. So we're back up and running with Tubeless. Just need to clean the wheel up a bit, got a bit of sealant on it. And ready to go. So what I'll do, I'm going out for a bike ride tomorrow. I'll come and check this later on tonight. I'm going to give it another couple of bounces and stuff. Might change the valve, because the valve's looking a bit bent in the process. Change the valve, but I might leave it up for now, change the valve later. It's all looking good. I can't see any air coming out of anywhere, so we might have sorted our issue, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching.